Hello, welcome to the Plurality of Earth. This channel used to be called Terrors of the Milky Way, but Terra doesn't really have a proper plural, if you will. So either just Earth, if you think about it, because of course there's only one Earth, right? That's what we've been taught. So why would there be a plural to Earth? So that's why I changed the name of the channel to the Plurality of Earth, because the Mandela effect is revealing that there is indeed a plural to Earth. So, with that in mind, let's see if we can go over some differences we can spot. Now, the frequency of shifting, this quantum shifting, is unknown, really. It's very difficult to tell because a lot of these realities, the Earth is virtually identical, but yet it's completely separate. And we know this simply because there's Earths in different sectors of the galaxy. We know most of us originated from the outer reaches of the Sagittarius arm. Now, this Earth in this solar system is on the inner Orion spur or the inner Orion arm, or excuse me, the Orion spur or the Orion inner arm. Now, they both branch off from the Sagittarius arm, so essentially they're one and the same. Now, of course, on the outer reaches, this area is so unknown. In fact, it's considered uninhabitable. But of course, we know otherwise, just like the astrophysicists, which are unaware that they have realities that they exist in and have always existed in some 75,000 light years from here on the outer reaches of the Sagittarius arm, where they would, uh, you know, say that it's uninhabitable out there, those replica versions of themselves in these realities this close to the galactic center. They assume the outer reaches is a frozen wasteland, the outer reaches of any arm, particularly Sagittarius arm. So let's go over. I made a list of some of the things I noticed that are different, which would indicate that we shifted again, which again is unknown how many times that happens. It could be as frequently as once a week, once a day, once a month. We just don't know. Again, the only way you could tell is if you visibly look around you and you happen to have a photographic memory. That really helps. Then you could see variations and differences. That's why you have to be careful that it might be something we overlooked. In fact, that's why I completely erased the channel Terrors of the Milky Way, even though there was in excess of 1,200 videos on there, informative videos. But that was counting the realities and possible shifts, and I felt uncomfortable about that. So, starting with the clean slate here, it is definitely a plural to Earth. There's no doubt about it. Who knows how many Earths there are? There could be millions of them just in the Milky Way galaxy alone. And what I mean is not exoplanets that are Earth-like, but literal Earths with the virtual identical reality that have always existed in or have always been living out. But let's get to some of these areas now. The north coast of Spain, I noticed in this bump out here. I didn't, because I always remember it with my limited photographic memory. Of course, you develop one pretty rapidly when you start looking into these things, but I just totally don't recall that bump out on the north coast of Spain. And of course, I'm just talking about comparisons between these realities this close to the galactic center. Of course, there's, massive variety of differences when it comes to these Orion dwarf Earths and the Sagittarius super Earths. So we're just compare these Orion dwarf Earths. Now, I don't recall this even on the previous, reality on one of these Orion dwarf Earths. Now, there's other areas. The Caspian Sea is always, and the Black Sea. But look at the Caspian Sea. It's like orientated kind of this way more than I recall. It's usually straight up and down. We know that this is impossible for this to change overnight. They didn't change the maps or anything. You can look on an old atlas or an old globe, even 100 years old or 250 years old, and you'll see that it's going to represent this Earth, and everything's identical to what you see here on Google Earth. So this is something that has always been on this earth in this reality, but it's something that's different to us because the soul portion of our soul that we were born with, that we will always have, will never blend with our other portions of our soul, which are many. They're very independent, and a Mandela effect's revealing that, even though they live in virtually identical realities. It's just fascinating. But this is something that's totally different to me, is the Caspian Sea. Not just the orientation, but the coastlines as well, the outline of it. This part's pretty straight. There's usually none of that. It's usually like kind of like a kidney bean shape. And so but that's where we notice the variations and differences is on the coastlines and shorelines and whatnot of the great seas of Earth and the oceans. And another area is the Gulf of Capteria, which this Gulf doesn't even exist in a lot of realities. It's certainly not on the Sagittarius Super Earth. The north coast of Australia is very consistent on the Super Earths. But on these Orion dwarfers, this Gulf of Capteria, which is named after a sheep town somewhere around here, but like I said, it doesn't even exist. But there's always, existing on the Super Earths, but there's always variations and differences with this. I mean, look at its orientation. The southern shore just slopes considerably to the southeast, more so than even in the previous reality. This is, in some realities, the south shore of the Gulf of Capteria is, straight across like this and not as far inland as it is here. And then, of course, my favorite is the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf, which also does not exist on the Super Earths and on some of the Orion dwarfers either. But here it is, the St. Joseph, or not St. Joseph, Joseph Bonaparte Gulf, which I believe he's obviously a relative of, Bonaparte, Napoleon. So, obviously the French had to have their little part of Australia, just like the British do and others. But Australia is always so different, the Great Australian Bight. And these are things we can look at and help us realize we shifted. Now, again, why the shifting is even happening can only be a guess. Now, I honestly think it's essential in cleansing our soul and helping, because this is the first time that any human soul has ever experienced anything like this. Even our ancestors in antiquity have never experienced anything like the Mandela effect. And, of course, it helps with the technology we have to realize this. Again, you can count on Google Earth. It's a very reliable tool in helping us to see, because, in every reality has a Google Earth, and it's going to represent the Earth in each reality. And none of these things can come with us. There's no way to prove it. You could take a picture of it, you can outline it, you can do all kinds of things. It doesn't matter. You're not going to leave a message in a bottle. It's impossible, because every replica version of yourself would be doing the exact same thing. And when you wind up in that reality, you'll see that the replica version of yourself that's been sharing your soul and, of course, experiencing the Mandela effect did the exact same thing. And it's always going to go right back to the bottom line, is our memory. And that's all we have. And that would indicate that this is a faith-based phenomenon. We have only our faith. And the more we try to convince others around us who are not experiencing the Mandela effect, the more they're going to think you're crazy, because to them, nothing is different. Nothing has changed. To them, the reality is as though it always has been. And it's simply because they're not experiencing the Mandela effect. It's simply because they have the portion of their soul that they were born with in the reality. They're not shifting like we are, so they're not going to see the variations and differences we see. So it's not their fault. We have to excuse them and understand why they do not see the variations differences, because this simply is not happening to everybody. Why it's happening to 1% of the population, whatever it may be, is who knows. Again, it has a lot to do with faith The Mandela effect can be taken negatively and it can be taken positively. Both, and I think it's meant to be that way. And it's also happening to just some of us simply because, again, if we try and explain what the Mandela effect's doing or what it's just showing us, others will not understand. And there, again, there's the faith. So what are we to do about it? I don't know. We just kind of go for the ride, enjoy it, understand that it's no doubt ushering in something very special for humanity, and be glad to be a part of it. And that's basically all we can do. I mean, soak in the knowledge it's given us. Many of you know I got another channel called the Mandela Effect Equals Knowledge, and that channel goes over all the many things that the Mandela Effect's revealing about creation and life. Now, speaking of creation, it's obviously a very important equation in all this. If you don't believe in creation, then you're going to be running into the brick walls, and it's just not going to. The answers are not going to be there. And that's not to say that this is a religious subject, or we don't need to be theocratic about this at all. This is all about spirituality, and that's the beauty of the Mandela effect. It's giving us an incredible knowledge of our soul and the fact that it's splintered and fractured, and all human souls are, even those that are not affected with the Mandela effect. There's not just human beings either. It's just all life on Earth has splintered and fractured souls, including plants and all animals, of course. The Earth itself. It's just really fascinating what the Mandela effect is revealing. And it's obviously a very important aspect to all this. Not to mention it's faith-based. It's revealing things that we can't even discuss with academia because they're not going to believe us. Because everybody's just been, taught from early on that we live on a singular Earth and that we're a singular species on that Earth, when nothing could be further from the truth. The Mandela effect is revealing that us human beings are the pinnacle of creation. Now, I'm not even saying, who created the human soul? Who created all this? It's just, I'm not being religious either. Obviously, something created all this, who knows how many millions of years ago. And it's just really incredible that during all that time, even the first human couple, if you will, never knew that they had a parallel existence. That might have been what knowledge there was in the tree of knowledge. Who knows? But the fact is this is the first time anything like this has ever happened. And so therefore it must be ushering in very incredible times for human beings and all life on Earth. In fact, there's no doubt new Earths that are awaiting, this new outlook for humanity. New Earths without any marring from human civilizations or anything. New Earths with, who knows? Because obviously Earths have been constantly being created from the galactic center, even after creation started on Earth. Now, those Earths that were created from the Milky Way galactic center, that were after the creation line, if you will be devoid of life as we know it. They may even have dinosaurs on them, who knows? But no doubt that's one of the aspects of all this, because the Mandela effect's revealing how incredible these Earths are. All life on Earth is from the Earth and made up from the Earth. Everything human beings make is from the Earth. So the Earth is a very important aspect of it. And we now know, thanks to the Mandela effect, that there is indeed a plural to Earth. So with that, I thank you for watching, and we will Google trot at you later. Love you.